Gimme hail. Anybody? Okay. Or storm report last night said.
I was glad to
Up
get
to
that
peace,
rain
I
because I thought we were gonna have 8 to 10 days. The stretch was pretty dry, so
Yes,
I planted the second crop of green beans and the second crop of cucumbers, and they're coming up like crazy. So I'm hoping they got time to. Sure.
now I gotta mow.
Oh, yeah.
It's been that well sun.
Time for the meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, good morning, everyone. I trust everyone had a wonderful weekend. And they're now ready to start a new week. Just as thrilled as everything to be here. So, anyway, no public in here, so anybody, so we'll go right to the, Dave, excuse me, Julie. We'll start with Julie first.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good morning.
Thank you, Ron.
Just a quick update. We've had 5 more positives over the weekend. So overall, a pretty good weekend. That puts us right at 500 confirmed positives. Out of those, 125 are considered active. We have had 370 recover. Just checked with Bob at the hospital. We have 2 COVID positive patients in the hospital. No PUIs at this time in the hospital. Seen a pretty significant decrease in percent positivity here in the county. Last week, we were at 3.58%, and the week before, we were at about 5%. We have that percent positivity chart available on our website. The screening line is still available on the weekdays, 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., as well as the email for general questions or concerns. We are getting about 20 calls a day to the screening line. We are getting quite a few event requests coming in. We average about 8 to 10 a day. These are reviewed by the subcommittee, and if they have questions or would like clarification, they'll just reach back out to the organizer. But so far, everything has been approved to go. We are meeting as a command staff 3 times a week, EOC once a week on Mondays for the regional briefing. We're going to have more conversations this week regarding sports and school getting started. And I do K-Mans on Tuesdays and Thursdays from here on out at 7 a.m. And we'll continue our Facebook Lives at 4:15 on Wednesdays. That's everything. Any questions on that?
Daily update still going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yes, press release Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yep.
Are we seeing a decrease in the number of overall testing at this point in time too?
Actually, that's staying pretty steady. I think we're keeping that number up there. That's another thing that's on that chart with our percent positives. You'll see that bar that tells you how many residents are being tested per week. And yeah, it stayed pretty steady. Also, I'm not sure if I mentioned this at my report last week, but we have confirmed through KDHE that we'll be able to do testing in Northview this Thursday. We're offering it at 3 different times, 8 to 10 in the morning, 12 to 2, and then 4 to 7. So the National Guard and KDHE are helping us to do that. We'll have volunteers there to direct traffic. We've also worked with Hy-Vee, and they are donating food for these times. So the individual will come in their car, they'll fill out a little form. We'll be able to put a meal in the trunk of their car, and then they can get tested. So we're looking forward to Thursday and hoping for good weather.
Yes, Vineyard Church.
Yes,
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
Julie, do you have any idea what surrounding counties are doing for their testing? You know, like Northview area, all these others?
Yeah, so Geary County did a day like this. Their injunction, they did a testing day, and I think they had about 240 come through just for that one day. But as far as other testing, normal testing day to day, I think they're pretty steady as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Public? Nobody? Okay. Start off with
Commissioner,
John.
I have one. Commissioner,
Leon. Oh,
way to go. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, I know there's a lot of people been waiting for this day, and so if all goes according to plan, the Keats Bridge on Anderson will be open to traffic this evening. Contractor still has a couple weeks worth of work to do to finish grading, seating, and things like that, but the road will be open during that work. So just wanted to let everybody know the bridge will be open this evening unless something unforeseen happens.
Thank you.
Good.
That's good.
That's good news.
Now, finally, John.
Now finally me,
Yeah.
huh? Okay. Thursday afternoon, sat in on the latest meeting of the Manhattan Area Recovery Task Force. Some of the items that were part of the discussion were, of course, reopening plans for USD 383. Our very own Tammy Robinson gave a summary of all the allocations that we approved earlier that day for this first round of Spark funding. Childcare was a big topic of discussion here, as you can probably imagine, what that may look like locally, both in the short term and moving forward. And there was some guidance on the upcoming second round of Spark funding, including the split for broadband. I don't know, we'll have somebody giving a presentation on that later. And there was an update on the MHK Safe Open Plan that will actually also be a Flint Hills. So it'll be not just city, but regional at some particular point in time too. Friday afternoon, I think as you gentlemen did at some point in time as well, spoke with the Riley County Command and the EOC on some recommendations and thought moving forward for what a local order number 18 may look like. Of course, part of that conversation will occur later on this morning, so there's not much really to discuss till we get to that discussion. So, but it was good to hear basically the thoughts of everybody, mixed opinions, of course. Saturday morning, I attended the first Riley County Republican Coffee Talk I think I've attended in 2020, I think. I can't remember anyway. It's really been that long. That was, of course, at Vista. Not a very, very large crowd per se, which I guess is probably good, considering. We had some pretty good conversation and dialogue, and then I kind of gave everybody in attendance kind of an update on what's going on here in Riley County, or at least the top list of priorities that we're working on currently. Other than that, the rest of the weekend went by pretty fast. Here we are.
Ron.
Did a lot of mowing and eliminated another skunk from the property.
Oh.
And my friendly buddy would come in within 5 or 10 minutes to help me out with it. And, I fielded some questions and had some comments or visited with people on the Aggieville situation with the bars and what's going on. Some of it in context with what was in the paper. Of course, tongue in cheek, I made a comment that if the other 4 city commissioners would give Mayor Reddy and her husband the power to write citations, since they're there anyway, keep track of everything, like it would sure take a load off our RCPD, but that didn't go anywhere. But no, I'd say it's an amazing society we live in right now, and look at the comment, both pro and con on masks and the Aggieville thing. You've got the flippant people that they don't make them wear a mask, and you've got the people that are sincerely interested in people's health. And so amidst all this and working with my hickory lumber, I found out what it's like when in World War II, when they alleged that the Germans and for the Japanese for torture, put the old toothpicks under the fingernail or something. So when I ran that splinter under my index fingernail all the way up,
To see how it
to
felt.
give you an idea of what that feeling's like. I can't imagine doing 9 more of it. So,
Thanks, I got that feeling now too. Appreciate that.
So fortunately, I was able to get a hold of it and drag it out with Murphy. But no, it's just unbelievable times that we're in right now. The wide variety of people's thoughts on this COVID-19. It's a serious situation, and I may not like it any more than some other people. I'm sitting here more than 6 feet away, and I'm wearing a mask, and it's uncomfortable due to my breathing conditions and stuff. I did talk to one fellow that actually has a medical sheet that says that he doesn't have, he can't. The first one I've run across, I know there's some people that it really harms. So looks like we're going to be dealing with this for quite some time yet. And then we have a fall coming, and of course the one thing you don't hear about right now is the traditional cold or flu.
Mhm.
I went in Friday for my annual wellness check. I usually call it a physical or whatever, and they renewed my contract for another year, hopefully.
Mhm.
And so that's working out well, but I was surprised, when I went in. I should have known, but it caught me unawares. I just headed in, I always try to get in very first thing in the morning, and forgot about the questions and answers and the temperature check and all, the whole 9 yards, I have to go through all that. It's just different times. I still wonder why on testing, when they take the test, do they know if the person's in the first day, the 13th day, or the 9th day? And when it gets tested today, a person at 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, they've been exposed to somebody. I understand testing is necessary, but I don't understand all the intricacies of it. I probably can't wrap my head around it anyway, so. Oh, and by the way, I'm busy next week. So Monday and Thursday. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, interesting week. Continue to take phone calls and emails, and Friday at 1 zoomed into the KAC legislative policy meeting. Meeting was for recommending and adopting 2021 legislative policy statements. The committee did adopt the dark store theory and constitutional home rule for counties. The other two proposals were tabled, and those were the exemption for commercial property and fee-based property tax on watercraft. So all in all, it was a good meeting, and had a real good presenter that Clancy again came through and did a wonderful job presenting all of the stuff there. So I think it'd be great, and we're making an impact. Riley County is again in the KAC, so I think it's good on that. Did receive an email from a constituent. She was a census taker. She was upset at me because when she went to one house, she opened the door and the guy wasn't wearing a mask and says, "I've got it." And she was mad at me because he did not wear a mask in the home. So there we go. No matter what you do, how you do it, it's a problem. Now they want you to do it in their home, and I don't think that's going to work. So anyway, then I did have a letter in my emails this morning from the city of Riley, and they discussed the half-cent sales tax, and Riley City Council feels the voters should be allowed to decide whether or not to extend this tax. The tax is necessary for providing funding directly for small cities, but has made a significant difference in the county infrastructure. Continued work is necessary to maintain roads that are used to conduct commerce throughout the county. So I'm not sure, I think if you saw this or not, Rich.
I saw that.
Yeah, but I think that
I got it.
you got it too.
Yeah, I got
it.
Yeah. So I think it's important that we continue on with trying to do something for that anyway.
Well, it's on that note, a comment. In October, City County, we reluctantly, the city wanted to be in charge, go on our own because of the fall in the county side. And reluctantly, we agreed to go work with the city, and the city was going to make the county whole as well as small cities. And then the next week, I read in the paper, they just decided to dump us. And so I feel, as opposed to what the Mercury says, that we should work together. We did. We did all.
Yes, I know we did.
That's the most we could do. I think it's very short-sighted in the fact that the county has that sales tax benefits the most people.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the city is hurting for money, and that's really not the rest of the county's fault that that's the case. It's just like currently, they just spent $20 or $30 million they don't have on a parking garage and millions on a little one block of a street, and a $12 million mechanics garage. You know, we, at least the county, we pay for our facilities, you know, just like the county shops, that was paid for, the police for the firing range, the buildings, the land next door. You know, that's the way it ought to be done, and I still think that the appropriate method is to continue the existing sales tax, but we'll be discussing that Thursday, and I don't suppose the city's gonna relent on that, but that's just the way that I feel that it should be, because the people in the county, probably most of where they shop is in Manhattan, so they have an investment. They sell on the fact that everybody coming in is gonna pay that tax. Well, you come into town for a day or two, you pay some sales tax. People who live here pay that 365 days a year.
Yeah.
As well as the people that are trying to find affordable housing for. And our lumber facilities are all in this range, and that makes, that's a big shot to a building, and likewise to the auto dealers. And, you know, people of modest means still have to buy homes and automobiles and things, so it's something I think it hasn't been studied very well by the city.
I looked at the agenda, right? It's actually Pottawatomie County leading that discussion on Thursday, which should be interesting. I'm not too happy about the fact that my sales tax, I do a lot of shopping down on this side of town because I live over in the Northview area, goes up 0.5% on top of it. So, yeah. And as I keep saying, I think this is a horrible time right now to be asking for taxation, whether it's an increase or an extension. So,
Okay, business meeting.
First item, gentlemen, tax roll corrections.
That one there, I can't make a motion on that one guy, $147,456.34 reduction.
Is
I may second it, but I'm going to first.
well, I was trying to figure out where that actually
the
is.
Samurai properties
Yes.
that got demolished over there that flooded.
Oh. Well,
Took me a little bit to think about that.
okay. Well, I saw Harvard Place on there. I was thinking, man, it's an expensive property to start with. And well, I'll go ahead. I mean, it is what it is.
Yep.
So, thank you, Mother Nature, on that one, I guess. I'll go ahead and make a motion. We approve the tax roll corrections.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. There you go, boss.
Man, you just really gave it to me.
Marlon signed, you can get a motion on the retail dealers 2020 cereal malt beverage license.
Move to approve.
And assuming that's for an event. I believe this is for some kind of
Yes,
event.
it is for an event.
Okay.
Correct.
I'll go ahead and second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ken,
2 spots on that.
nothing else. This whole 4 years, I've got my name down now. Spell it right.
Name that spelled.
Somebody. Say that's.
Oh,
Oh, well. We go see.
yeah. Close. Right there.
That's up here. Sign down here. Very
Thank
simple.
you.
Mhm.
Next, gentlemen, we have the Riley County District Court 2021 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You bet. Whitney, you're up next.
Next, Riley County Personnel Action Form for Cassandra, not quite sure how to pronounce that last name. Osokio, new hire as needed museum assistant, museum department. And then I have Riley County Personnel Action Form for Susan Bowler, for other as election supervisor, deputy county clerk. And then Hannah Hager, separation of service, after election worker, and then Savannah Thamer, new hire, Sunflower Foundation intern. Thank you. Minutes from the board is,
Okay, you guys ready? Yeah. Okay, page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10.
Move to approve the minutes of the.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
How the tentative agendas look, gentlemen?
I'm assuming that 1:30 on Thursdays for an interview.
It is.
Okay.
EMS director.
Okay.
Next week, I'll be in town, I'll be available in case of emergency on that COVID thing.
Okay.
Any of those deals,
Uh-huh. No problem.
Got some help coming in from San Diego to help try to get much done on the moving and everything we can.
Good, good. Yep, that'd be good, no problem. Any items for next week's press conference?
I don't have any.
I don't have anything.
Okay, next we have Clancy at 9 o'clock. Yeah, those little trucks I was showing your mom, I don't know whether I'd rather keep the Ford or the International. I really like the International, but the Ford being so rare, you know?
I'll snag both of them.
Huh? Yeah, I get both of them, but I don't necessarily need both to keep.
No, the one that you need to do is, you find a site, like, locate a couple, and let it pay for what I'm doing.
That's the, the long run, the Ford's probably more valuable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I would say, be more
Yeah,
valuable.
because there'll be somebody out there wanting to, she put it on a modern frame with a rollback bed, all her car,
Uh-huh.
show her race.
Yeah. That's an International, like, just for a trash truck, you know, you build the dump bed on it, you know, it's okay if you bang the heck out the bed with it, yours, leave the rest of it, you know, you can shave, because you can always replace that easily. Getting to those vehicles, the chickers did find me.
So you're getting 2 trucks?
No, I know where some, what they would call barn finds are on some cars,
Mhm.
a couple old trucks, some family, and so went and looked at them. Don't know how negotiable the terms are, we'll have to find out.
Some real treasure.
So David,
Morning, good, how are
There
you?
you are.
Good.
I was being quiet, I didn't know if he was talking, I didn't want
first
to
you're
interrupt.
there, now you're here, you're just everywhere.
Hey, you just never know where I'm gonna show up.
That's what we're afraid of. time, Clancy.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Clancy Holman, Riley County Councilor. I'd like to begin with number 13, actually, the opt-out right of local school boards regarding Executive Order 20-59. This is follow-up to the board's discussion last Thursday. As you're aware, with schools opening, the question has come up about what kind of requirements local school boards, school districts have to impose regarding the governor's executive order, and whether or not they need, in effect, an opt-out or permission from county boards of county commissioners to opt out of that ordinance on that executive. That was, I won't say it's resolved. It is an Attorney General's opinion, but in my opinion, as I told you last Thursday, I think it's well-reasoned opinion. AG's opinion that came out last Tuesday, I think. And it actually dealt with that question. Went through the statutory grant of home rule to all local school boards and acknowledged that both counties and school boards have the ability to opt out, but no school board needs the permission or the opt-out by the Board of County Commissioners. This board indicated that your view, consistent with my recommendation, was you allow the school boards to do that, to exercise their own authority. And your follow-up was to go ahead and follow that recommendation. The suggestion was made to go ahead and I think it's a great idea to let the various school boards know around the county what your position is, so they won't have to guess. That's the intent of those 3 letters. Each one is identical. And I would just ask that unless you have questions, you go ahead and authorize signature on those, and we'll get them out today.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the opt-out right of the local school boards regarding Executive Order 2059.
All in favor? Aye.
All 3 of you gentlemen, please.
Oh, that was the big stack of paperwork there.
It
Okay.
was. I couldn't get my case closed. It's so thick.
Partial thanks for the weight of that goes to the AG. It's a 13-page opinion. We're sending it along so school boards and
No, and we're-
can see.
Regards to this, it's still a fluid situation. As I'm aware, the governor may try to take some other actions to work around this, or
As always, unless there's some,
Is that,
there's always a possibility.
if they opt out, do they lose money from the governor or what?
no, this would just be through legal means. She may challenge
You
it
know, because that
legally,
was one of the things
Yeah.
that somebody asked. me.
and that's still, as far as I know, that's still a possibility.
Short answer is yes. Correct.
Okay.
This is, the AG's opinion is not the same as a final decision by a court.
Correct.
Jurisdiction of any available appeals are done, does not exist here.
Don't bang too hard on the glass there, Ron. All that metal would crack the glass. Oh, okay.
Probably not.
I'm gonna say probably not.
Just don't tap a corner. That's all you can do there.
If it wasn't, we had the chips out of it.
Now I got one over here as well.
floor of my desk. That's funny.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Short follow-up to what the chairman mentioned about the KC Legislative Policy Committee meeting. I think it went well, as he indicated. Between now and the next meeting, which will be on September 11th, on those two tabled items, I'll work with Greg McHenry, and he'll be working, I'm sure, with the County Appraisers Association. They just wanted some more data. To get some clearer idea of the dollar impact on those two items. Unless you have questions about anything, that's all I have for you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Next gentleman, we have David Adams at 9:15. I'll be back.
all right.
Get delivery.
Taking notes on all this, David?
Pass me. Pass me.
That was the idea.
Thanks. Fair enough. I'm done. Thanks, just pass me over.
With that,
Did we reach out? Okay, okay. I didn't know if that. Wasn't sure the understanding was they were going to get.
I think we will.
Oh, yeah. Kurt and I went down and met. I'm happy.
You're on.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning. David Adams, EMS Ambulance Director with my monthly update. Calls for service in July, we had 380 calls. North County, we had 16. Both were right on average for July. So, we really hadn't seen much of a drop off in our North County calls, but we had in just our overall call volume. So it's starting to bounce back, which is right on par with the rest of the country, quite frankly. So I continue to work as part of the command staff of the BOCC. I'm the operations section chief, so that keeps me pretty busy. Department-wise, we've met with K-State Athletics on the upcoming football season, like we do every year. This year, we've added another meeting, working on alternate operational plans to be prepared for the possibility of games related to the attendees in the stands. So we have our normal operating plan, then we have a contingency for 25% capacity, and we have a contingency with nobody in the stands. So, but we would still need to be there for the players and some of the staff and things like that. So have a meeting coming up with them here, I believe next week. We have a meeting this week, but then a separate, really dealing with the traffic flow with all the construction going on around the stadium. So, and then I'll have another meeting next week to discuss our plans. So, so that's a work in progress. So, yes, Rich.
When's the first game scheduled for?
September 12th.
Okay, so getting here quick.
Yes, it's gonna be here before we know it. Education, we're working on presenting our first online educational program. We call it PTEP, Psychological Trauma for EMS Patients. It's actually, it will be this Thursday. I'm sorry, this Friday. So we're excited about this. This is a new class that we're bringing to our staff to kind of just help us understand our trauma patients from a psychological standpoint and how to, what they're dealing with, what they're going through, their emotions at that time, and how we can better interact with our patients and such. So it's a good program. We're looking forward to it. So I'm going to try and sit in on it. I'm not going to be able to sit in on the whole class. It's virtual, but I'll sit in as much as I can on Friday. So community outreach. We've already started doing some event standbys. We did one at the Highline Park out on K18. We did a standby for them. Years past, it's been a demo. We didn't do a demo where we had our stuff set out. Kids could come look at our ambulance and their families and such. But we just did the standby for them. So we've got some more of those coming in. So, so those are starting to pick back up. We've restarted our CPR outreach program. There's a lot of need for that. People's CPR certifications were coming due. Our instructors did a good job, and they've made it a video platform for the most part. So there's not much in-class time. They have videos and such that through the American Heart Association that they have to watch. And then they've got safeguards in place when they come in to do their hands-on CPR. So they did a good job. I'm proud of them for what they put together. They kind of did that on their own and presented it and have started. So I do have one more thing to add that wasn't on here. Last month you asked me to discuss with Clay County about some assistance up north, and we've had good discussion with them. We have another meeting this Thursday to discuss with them. I think they're agreeable to it. Had a good conversation with their medical director. He used to actually work here back in the early 90s when he was in college, and so I've known him for 30 years. Very, very good discussion. They're open to it, but they're wanting to be pretty careful about it. They don't want to be socked in to where if our North County truck is on a call that they have to respond, because they may be busy as well because they have their county to cover. But good conversation. I think we'll come up with something. Hopefully this Thursday I can. Then we'll take it to Clancy and work through the process. So, like I said, they were open to the discussion, but they want to be careful. And then last thing I have on here is just our monthly ops reports, kind of breaking down Medic 11, 21, 31, 41 are our 4 stations. Medic 10 is our supervisor. They responded on a call with multiple patients, and they did a refusal. They did. Somebody had a small abrasion or something, so they did that. And Medic 12 is that standby that I just spoke about. So, so those were those calls. Do you have any questions about that? Okay. And then the day of the weeks. One thing that I noticed on here was Thursday and Friday picked up from last month. Not surprising. The weather wasn't too terribly hot, so people were getting out and about a little more. And I would suspect you'll see this continue to pick up, to be like traditional with students coming back. Fort Riley still don't have their soldiers in Aggieville in the evenings, so that takes a little bit off of those. But I wasn't surprised by anything on this. And then just our breakdown of our times. I really did not get to look at this as closely as I wanted to go back and compare. But my guess is we're going to see an uptick in calls. Usually it's going to start about 9 o'clock is when we'll start to see an uptick in those numbers with Aggieville and the students and things like that. So 9 p.m. Especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That if I were a betting man, that's where I would put my money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I have. You have any questions?
I don't.
David.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, David. See you back at 10:45. Hopefully we'll be in person if all's in the end, but
Okay.
one way or the other.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Come on, 9:30 press conference.
And you're gonna leave me to my own devices next week?
I gotta get something done. Electrician, plumber,
Yeah.
TV, wire runner, the carpenter, the cabinet maker, he's behind.
Yeah, well, you gotta get on to some of these people. I don't think you ought to pay them very much. If you can get people that are behind. Tell them to put them all there.
Takes a lot of time just to change hats.
Yeah.
The rain was just perfect because I put a little fertilizer boost on my tomatoes and my eggplants and those yesterday. So I hand watered it in a little bit, that way it just didn't disintegrate. But that water, that rain really helped. Should really help it out. Most of my garden got hit by aerial overspraying drift.
Oh,
So my peppers just are not doing well, and that's
yeah,
discouraging.
they don't take that well.
Yeah, a lot of stuff got hit. You can tell a lot of the oak trees are real brownish in our
Mhm.
area. My wife is not happy about that.
Yeah. Yeah, which was that one, Cambria or one of those, the original chemical was super fine and drifted miles. And of course, they got a lot of lawsuits, so they changed the formulation some, but yeah, it's just.
Well, and those guys, and especially in our area, the flat part of Kansas is one thing, but in our area, I learned this from your not from central Kansas, you can predict winds with archery hunting, you really got to know the winds. But I really had to learn wind currents with all these hills out in the area where I live.
Yeah, we trade your own currents.
Wind currents are a lot different than just general direction of wind. It really has an impact.
I didn't realize it. Kevin built a golf course in '93 and around like my shop and then different poles, he cut and take out a lot of foliage stuff. And with the hill there in the summer, it creates its own wind current and you open that up and that way it keeps that bent grass cool and creates its own flow and stuff. But I didn't realize that or I'd have been brush and stuff years ago, you know, but it made a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
You know, looking back, I mean, just right now and then the previous years, I didn't know there's that much land in California farm. I would have thought it all been.
I
I just
agree.
can't believe that.
Yeah, they've had some horrible times out there.
I'm walking.
On my vehicle trip Saturday, my son and I went on, did kind of a tour going to central Kansas, went to Salina, had breakfast with my mom at 8:30 in the morning at a local restaurant there in Salina, her and her husband. Went from there and went to an archery shop in Lynchburg that I use, Smoky Valley Archery. And then left there, took the back roads kind of back over Canopolis Lake into Canopolis where I'm from. Moved, my mom got an old house there she wanted me to check out. That's why I was checking that out. She wants to get rid of it, see what she needs to do with it. And my aunt stopped by over there and I asked her to go look at those vehicles. And she said, yeah, go ahead. And went and visited my dad. And had a full day on Saturday across central Kansas.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
That was a good day with just my son and I.
what, in Salina, my favorite breakfast place was on Broadway.
Bayard's.
Yeah.
That's where we went.
Oh, that's the one. Oh, yeah.
My mom's husband goes there every Saturday, him and a group of
Yeah.
relatives of his there, and so that's where we met them at. Yep.
Yeah.
And portions are huge.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereabouts is that at?
Right on Broadway, kind of fairly close to where the old McDonald's used to be there on Broadway.
Okay,
Right, almost catty corner from Lonnie Wilson's auction building.
I think what it is the old Sambo's restaurant.
That's
isn't
what it was, yeah.
Back in the day, the old
Okay.
Sambo's
Oh,
restaurant.
Oh, it's delicious. Large portions, good food,
Oh, yeah,
reasonable.
kind of a down home style cafe. You know, don't have a lot of skillets and stuff. It's the basic traditional breakfast place.
that's good. Try that next time.
Yeah, one order, they bring out on 2 plates, is how much food you get.
All
One
right.
full platter and then another side plate. It was just,
So technically for me, that would be for Vicky and me, just one serving.
oh yeah, the one guy there, Rod was his name. He said he always gets a half order. because the
Yeah.
orders, and they were huge.
I used to remember the little cafe in Chapman, you'd go and you'd get a half order of fries and it'd be like this.
That's how big the pile of hash browns was that come with this. It was-
Wow.
Yeah, but the doctor like that, because Friday, I mean, they always come out, my BMI is too high. What? Okay.
That's the thing, is my doctor wasn't there.
That's
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, at least they don't have to look at her till next year.
I got mine coming up in September.
I had mine already. I'm actually going in for a test this week, because I'm curious, because my dad's got high cholesterol. I do too, but I've gotten it down. But there's a test they can do to calculate how much blockage you have in your artery. It's non-invasive, you know, so I'm going in Wednesday to have that done. I forget what the test is called, but yeah, there's a doctor that comes into Stone Creek every once in a while, so when I get that done, just to see what they say.
But at the moment, I have, my bad cholesterol is low. It's been that way for years, so don't worry too much on that. Good cholesterol is high, so.
He's got tested for all that in June, and besides my blood pressure, my vitals, my BMI is still way too high too, but rest of my vitals, with the exception of blood pressure, is pretty good. When I gave blood last week, it was down, usually borderline, so.
Time for press conference, soon. I'm not here. Unless you're gonna give a press
Guess
conference.
I'm the one-man show today on
Okay.
the press conference, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to remind everyone that we are having the canvass of the election today at 10 o'clock in the Board County Commissioners Chambers. We will be presenting to the board 215 provisional ballots to be considered, of which we will recommend 164 be counted. And I bring this up every time, gentlemen, because even just this last week, we got a call, and these calls just frustrate me. Because I had mentioned someone do a provisional ballot, and the person on the phone said, well, those don't count. Yes, they do. In this instance, we have 77% of the provisional ballots that were recommended to be counted. It's just a process we have to go through because something isn't quite right when you show up at the polling place. And it's always typically around 70% of the provisional ballots that do count. So sometimes people get frustrated because of what they read on social media or national media or talking to friends, and just the misconception that provisional ballots do not count, and the overwhelming majority always do. And so we will be going through that process. We'll present the report to the commissioners. We'll read through each polling location results and the amount of provisionals that were there, what we recommend is accepted, what we recommend is denied, and why. And then have the board make a motion to accept those recommendations, since you guys do sit as the Board of County Canvassers. And then we will take the ballots next door, open them, we have a write-in board that's coming in, I believe at 11 today, to go through and review those last ballots, and then we'll calculate those and add those to the unofficial results from election night. Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next gentleman, you have Scott Lightsell, Chief Operating Officer, General Manager, Twin Valley Telephone, to discuss Spark proposal broadband connectivity.
That's speaking up.
Morning, Bill. There he is. How you doing, Scott?
Good, how are you guys?
Good.
Mary just texted, they also have great liver room.
Oh, really? Yeah, I haven't did that for years. My mom used to make that. I like
That's not one of my favorites.
You make it right, it's good.
Uh-huh, it is.
Gotta make it right.
that. It is.
When you cook it right, it's tender, tastes good, all that.
How are you, sir?
Good.
Good,
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 well.
good.
Big sigh.
Huh?
That was a big sigh.
Yes, it was.
Got seeing everything's on here, so thank you, roll through it.
Okay. Perfect, thank you so much.
You bet.
I have one handout.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
Sir.
Thank you.
Scott, you looking to play center area?
I do.
How much range you guys get?
We got a little bit. It came through pretty strong last night, but scared the kids a little bit. But pretty fast and furious. I don't know how much it was, but yeah, the yard's nice and green.
Yeah. Get them out some more this week.
Yes. What the boys do. Yeah, I've been there 10 years now. Moved from Kansas City and I was in Wichita before that. So I'm from originally is Wichita.
Gotcha. Well, that's a big change for you.
Yeah, even more so for my wife. I lived in a small town before, but she's from St. Louis.
Yeah.
But she really likes it. I think she'd have trouble moving back to a big city.
That's good.
Especially under the current circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah, just watch some of the national media and say, see, it's a lot nicer.
I've read some of that, that people are deciding to move out of urban areas.
Oh, yeah, we've had 2 department head positions open, and that was part of their primary reason wanting to come to this area.
Yeah.
There were in a couple of hot spots where those activities were going on.
Yeah.
It's not
BOCCs have to offer. I don't think a lot of times people quite know what the small rural towns have to offer. So it's nice to appreciate that.
Little small town Kansas kids, so I just enjoyed it, appreciated it.
There's always a deal of that, the big towns will have all these different things for you, okay, great. Small towns will allow you to do many different things, okay, because big towns won't allow you to do things. They have a lot of stuff, but they won't allow you to do as much as you do in a small community.
A lot of bureaucracy, that's right. Yeah, I joke with some of my friends back in Kansas City. It's like I moved to a small town to see the world.
Yeah.
What's that except for it?
Yeah. In a big town, you don't know all your neighbors, but in a small town, you do.
Right.
Well, I figured if I want to go visit them, I can go visit them when it's ready to come home.
Yeah,
I can get to anywhere from here.
that's right.
Well, by the time you get up there and all
Pretty
that, it'll be about time.
Okay, thanks, sir.
You're on.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
Thank you for your time again. Once again, my name is Scott Heitzel. I'm the general manager of Twin Valley Telephone. Your neighbors here, adjacent to Riley County and serving part of Riley County. So we are entering the application phase to apply for funding available via the SPARK program, the $50 million that the State Finance Council approved for broadband programs in the state of Kansas. And as I mentioned last week, we had been working on that very mission and had a project ready to go, and we're undergoing the feasibility process. So I'm here today to do a couple things. Number one, a key component of that the Department of Commerce is going to look for in these applications are letters of support from the community for which these projects will benefit the citizens. And so part of my visit is an ask for a letter of support. That's the draft I've passed around. It's simply a draft. Again, to make this as simple as possible on everyone, we're trying to provide that information to make it easy for support. But certainly we're open to edits and can facilitate electronic signature if that works best. And to just grow your comfort level and knowledge with what you're supporting, my presentation is to provide a little more information about Twin Valley. I expect you've heard of us. I hope you have, but you're probably not as familiar with us as some of the other providers here in the area. So I want to make sure you have some of that backdrop and understand what it is we do. And so that's the purpose of this presentation here. If I can find the button to share all the scroll. So, so this enable remote connectivity through investments in technology and digital infrastructure. That is taken right from the Department of Commerce presentation in terms of one of the key goals of these dollars, and that's what we do. You know, we've been in business since 1947, since the first generation owners took a risk and invested in the companies and built this from the ground up. We are a regulated company. We have borrowed millions of dollars from the USDA programs at the time of a loan we took in 2006 to convert 13 exchanges to fiber to the home. It was the largest loan that the USDA via the RUS had given at that time, $75 million. In the last 5 to 7 years, we have been audited by the departments within the FCC, the Kansas Corporation Commission, and divisions of USAC. We have passed all those audits satisfactorily. So we are good stewards of public funds. And again, we'll continue that tradition with this project. This is just to give you a glimpse of the area we do serve. It's over 2,400 square miles and growing. We've edged out to Rossville as just to hone our practice and extending outside our traditional footprint. As we'll see today, we'd like to further expand into Riley County.
That's why I take it you got the entire Riley County, right?
We serve a majority of Riley County, not entire Riley County,
Okay.
but part of this, our proposal is to serve a greater portion of Riley County. Right, today we have 1,000 customers in the Riley County area.
I'm currently one.
Very good.
So, but
Thanks for
you,
serving
are
business.
you talking, you don't do Fort Riley or what?
We do not serve Fort Riley today,
Okay. But
and
do
that
you,
is something we have an eye on.
because I was just looking at the map there, it looks like you just about have all of Riley County.
Yeah,
Saying that.
yeah, we kind of surround it and get into parts of it, but it's not a complete 100%
Okay.
coverage for all of Geary County as well.
Okay.
But it is, so we are constantly evaluating opportunities to expand into the Fort even.
Okay.
The last 20 years, we have invested over $100 million in infrastructure projects to provide the state-of-the-art broadband technologies to the customers we serve. Over 75% of the areas we serve is fiber to the home. And I mentioned that $75 million loan we took almost 14 years ago. And again, we've been responsibly paying that back and putting that investment to good use. So, part of that's just to show we are committed to the cause. And as another example, when we took that loan in the 2006 to 2008 timeframe, there were 200 DSL customers at that time, and it was formerly owned by a larger provider. And when we purchased those exchanges from them and converted them to fiber to the home, we immediately turned those 2,000 DSL customers into 4,000 fiber to the home customers. We tripled the size of our customer base and our employee base when we did that, so we created jobs. And we continue that type of growth strategy today. We've expanded to Rossville. We've turned up sites in North Salina. And then we recently turned up a site in South Millburg, just north of Junction City, and edging us closer to that town as well. And as I mentioned, we're regulated and audited by state and federal agencies. A few more highlights. So one thing I really want to call out is that we have over 5,000 broadband customers in the area we serve, and that is over 60% of the homes passed. So when we invest in this technology and we're able to reach people's homes with it feasibly, they take the service and they keep it for a long time. Then you'll see the 1,000 Raleigh customers served today. We're in 23 communities. We serve almost every city, medical, and county location that is incumbent in our footprint. And we're investing in our communities through our charitable giving and volunteer time and talent. So specific to the needs, again, of this program, this is what we do. We provide high quality connectivity, broadband connections using the next generation technology, whether that's fiber or wireless technology, which it becomes a facilitator for, in this case, telehealth, telework, distance learning, things that have been situated in terms of their need because of the pandemic situation. And like I mentioned before, because of the investments we've made back home, we were able to immediately turn up broadband service, fiber broadband service for 100 families when the pandemic hit this spring. And if we were able to make this kind of investment, gain support for this investment, those are the type of things we'll be able to do on a broader basis. So specific to this proposal, to make sure it's a feasible model to start, it is a wireless design, but wireless technology improves year by year. This will be using next-gen technology. You'll see that 2,600 of the locations there in Riley County will be capable of 50 meg service. With the minimum requirements of this program will be 25.3, 2,800 locations will be capable of that service. And there are a lot of spots in between Manhattan, let's say Keats here and so forth, that are a little bit, they're dead spots, where they're kind of that no man's land in terms of providers. So we'd like to expand in that area, serve those customers, and again, increase our reach. And that investment we're looking at is a total upfront CapEx of $426,000. The application process does have a match component. It's a minimum of 20%. At this time, we're going to stay with our match investment of 40% to make this feasible, and then we will request the additional 60% via the application process that we'll submit to the Department of Commerce. And then if that's approved, where we'll get the money, get the funding via this program, we'll start immediately. And we've already started some of the teeing up some of that work to be ready to go in anticipation that we may receive some funding. And then we're going to work fast and furious to turn up customers by end of year per the requirements of the program. Then there's just a sense of our team. We're a fourth generation family owned and operated business. And we take a long-term success, our success horizon is long-term while we take care of, provide customers hometown quality customer care using the latest technologies available. And so really we just look for a partnership, continue to grow the partnership between Twin Valley and Riley County, and ask for your support via a letter of support that we will submit with the application. Any questions or comments I can answer?
I have none.
I just over the weekend, out of curiosity, through our national association, we have a thing called the Tested app. And it's an app that you can download on your phone, and it tests quality of broadband and wireless. Can't do them both at the same time. You have to take a separate test, but it's about a 82% range that we're under that 25.3. So this is a necessary component for doing some of the things we need to do in the short term and in the long term to make things viable here for new innovations and economic development and everything else. So it's something that we need to do. We're behind the 8 ball on this, and we really need to get ahead of this.
I agree. There's a lot of people out there that have been telling me, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna provide the service? Well, we don't, you guys do. And so this is gonna be excellent timing on your part.
Yeah, we believe so. I read an article over the weekend from the Washington Post. You guys may have seen that as well, on this very thing, how it's just that a lot of kids across the country are left behind. They just can't participate in distance learning. So this solves that, not for everybody, but for more people than it did before. Again, that's what our mission is. If there's anything, I can provide to help with that letter of support and gain your signatures on that, just let me know.
I look at it as a help economically, as John was saying. Small business would, they would really profit from this.
I know we spend a lot of time talking about roads and bridges and all that type of infrastructure, but this is, if not right up there with, just right below in terms of priority moving forward. And like I said, with the testing rate that's only accurate up to about 18% at this particular point in time. And a large portion of this area that these towers will cover will improve that. May not make it perfect, but we'll improve it. And at least if we're moving in the right direction, it's going to be easier and easier to make those improvements as we go along.
Yes.
Falling further behind and trying to catch up on all of it.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
so I am 100% in favor.
I am too.
I think we all are.
Thank you.
So do we want to use this letter, or how do we want to approach that?
Well,
Maybe that's a Clancy
Yeah,
question.
Clancy probably draft the letter.
I could just bring you back a letter you can look at.
Okay.
yeah, so I'll make sure you receive a copy. There were a couple sections in there, just place order.
Sure.
We want you to be able to add your
Yeah.
your input on it for sure.
Okay.
Just send me a blue version.
Yes, I will. Okay, good.
Is that the one you sent us already?
Yes,
Yep, so you should have it, Clancy. You were on that email
As
string.
long as it's in blue.
yes. Yes.
Okay. So we'll probably have a draft of that at some point in time here shortly, and we'll move it forward.
Okay, look forward to it. Thank you for your support.
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That cancels the election at 10 o'clock, gentlemen.
Scott, do you have a moment?
How's Susan doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, think.
You think?
We'll give you-
There was a last minute change. Somebody came in, gave their signatures.
Oh, good deal. Good deal.
Yeah. Which is good. How are you? Good. You didn't see us in the. Oh, yeah, I sneaked in. Incognito.
You guys about ready, but this is over for a while?
For about 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
You get a 2-week reprieve, but yeah, after this, we'll have to work provisionals, post the results, and then of course certify to the state. So towards the end of the week, then we'll close this out. The general starts.
Yeah. Now, when will you have the precinct breakdown?
Well, my abstracts, which are the precinct breakdown, won't be until the Board of County Commissioners sign off on those, which I'm hoping to have ready for them Thursday.
Okay.
Hopefully, but we'll have a precinct by precinct report after we run our provisionals through, but it just will not have those have to be, so those will be added into the abstracts. Not a huge amount. We've got, let me see, 56 total at this point. Yeah.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Ready, gentlemen?
Yes.
Ready, Chairman?
Yes,
Good morning, gentlemen.
good morning.
Want to kind of introduce the procedures for the canvass of the ballots. You gentlemen by statute sit as the Board of County Canvassers. The canvassing board will be presented a copy of the 2020 primary canvass report, which you should have before you. The report will have the total number of ballots cast for each polling location. Raleigh County Clerk's Office staff will read through each individual polling location results and present the canvassing board recommendations for the provisional ballots being accepted, partially counted or rejected, and the reason why rejected. The Board of County Canvassers can ask for any further verification on recommended results of the provisional ballots presented. The Board of County Canvassers will then move to approve the valid provisional ballots upon completion of the partial count provisional ballots and certify the official election results of the 2020 primary election. The county clerk's staff will then take the provisional ballots to the review board in the clerk's office to process the valid provisional ballots. The Riley County clerk will then tabulate the valid provisional ballots. Once the provisional ballots are reviewed by the review board, has processed and tabulated the partial count provisional ballots, the final canvass results will be placed on the Riley County website and copies made available for the public. So gentlemen, you've been through the process. I don't know if you have any questions before we get started. One thing I'd like to reiterate again is staff said, people just don't realize that, like I told people, because you hear so much social media or national media or whatever about elections, is, we're in the business to count ballots. Staff even today, someone came in and signed the application, or the ballot, which they hadn't signed. So now we have one more provisional ballot that's valid today that I reported this morning, 264, I believe it was. We have one more because that individual came in. And so that takes a lot of additional staff time to personally contact those people. And so, like I said, we actually have one more provisional than I said this morning. And like I said, we have 77% of the provisionals are being recommended to be counted. And it's a false false thought when people think that provisionals are not counted in the election process. They're very important. And actually, provisional ballots have actually changed election results in Riley County on the local election one time. So we do take them very seriously. Susan will go ahead and start through the process.
Okay. So Riley County advanced, we had 775 EXT votes, 5,903 paper ballots voted, totaling 6,678. There were 44 provisional ballots. Out of those 44, we recommend that 36 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 8 as not valid, as 3 were not registered, and 5 wanted to vote for wrong party. We had 41 federal service ballots and 14 hand counts, totaling 6,777 votes. Alert had 31 EXT votes and 1 paper ballot, totaling 32. There were 0 provisionals, so the total ballots cast were 32. Ashland had 38 EXT votes, 0 provisional, totaling, or provisionals, I'm sorry, 0 paper, totaling 38. There was 1 provisional. Out of that one, we recommend that it would not be counted as valid because they wouldn't affiliate with the party, totaling 39 total ballots cast. Blue Valley Methodist had 145 EXT votes, 2 paper, totaling 147. There were 7 provisional ballots. Out of those 7, we recommend that 3 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 4 as not valid, as 3 were not registered and 1 voted the wrong party, totaling 154 ballots cast. College Avenue United Methodist Church had 242 EXT votes, 3 paper ballots, totaling 245. There were 11 provisionals. Out of those 11, we recommend that 8 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 3 is not valid, as 1 was not registered and 2 already voted by mail ballot, totaling 256. First Assembly of God had 310 EXT votes and 1 paper, totaling 311. There were 20 provisional ballots. Out of those 20, we recommend 10 be counted as valid, 4 as partial, and 6 as not valid, as 5 were not registered and 1 voted by mail ballot, totaling 331 ballots cast. First Lutheran Church had 70 EXT votes, 2 paper, totaling 72. There were 12 provisional ballots. Out of those 12, we recommend that 8 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 4 is not valid, as they were not registered, totaling 84. Grace Baptist Church had 148 EXT votes and 1 paper, totaling 149. There were 8 provisionals. We recommend that 5 be counted as valid, 2 as partial, and 1 is not valid, as they voted the wrong party, totaling 157. Highland Ridge Clubhouse had 108 EXT votes, 1 paper, totaling 109. There were 7 provisionals. Out of those 7, we recommend that 6 be counted as valid, 1 as partial, and 0 as not valid, totaling 116. Keats Methodist had 158 EXT votes, 1 paper, totaling 159. There were 3 provisional ballots. We recommend 2 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 1 is not valid, as they were not registered, totaling 162. LDS Church had 92 EXT votes, 0 paper, totaling 92. There was 1 provisional, and out of that one, we recommend that it be counted as valid, totaling 93. Leonardville Community Building had 126 EXT votes, 8 paper, totaling 134. There were 4 provisional ballots, and we recommend that all 4 be counted as valid. And there was 1 hand count, so that total is 139. The Lynx had 119 EXT votes, 0 paper, totaling 119. There were 8 provisional ballots. Out of those 8, we recommend 4 be counted as valid, 1 is partial, and 3 is not valid because 2 were not registered and 1 was the wrong party, totaling 127. Living Word Church had 313 EXT votes and 0 paper, totaling 313. There were 12 provisionals, and out of those 12, we recommend 9 be counted as valid, 0 is partial, and 3 is not valid because 2 were not voted the wrong party and 1 was not registered, totaling 325. Manhattan Art Studio had 81 EXT votes, 0 paper, totaling 81. There were 6 provisionals. We recommend that 4 be counted as valid, 1 is partial, The one is not valid because they voted the wrong party, totaling 87. Public Library had 168 EXT votes and 2 paper, totaling 170. There were 6 provisionals. We recommend that 5 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 1 is not valid because they were not registered, totaling 176. Ogden Community Center had 155 EXT votes and 2 paper, totaling 157. There were 4 provisionals. We recommend 2 be counted as valid, 0 as partial, and 2 is not valid because they voted the wrong party, totaling 161. Potter Hall had 212 EXT votes and 3 paper, totaling 215. There were 7 provisionals, and we recommend that 4 be counted as valid, 2 is partial, and 1 is not valid because they were not registered, totaling 222. Prairie Rock Schoolhouse had 29 EXT votes, 0 paper, totaling 29. They also had 0 provisional ballots, so their total ballots cast were 29. Randolph VFW had 155 EXT votes, 1 paper ballot totaling 156. There were 2 provisional ballots, and we recommend that both be not counted as valid because 1 was not registered and 1 was the wrong party, totaling 158 ballots cast. Riley Center had 164 EXT votes, 5 paper, totaling 169. There were 6 provisional ballots. We recommend 3 be counted as valid, 1 as partial, and 2 as not valid because 1 was the wrong party and 1 did not have a photo ID, totaling 175. Riley County Senior Center had 28 EXT votes, 0 paper ballots voted, totaling 28. There were 9 provisional ballots. Out of those 9, we recommend 6 be counted as valid, 1 is partial, and 2 is not valid because 1 was the wrong party and 1 was not registered, totaling 37 total ballots cast. Sedalia Community Church had 125 EXT votes and 0 paper, totaling 125. There were 3 provisional ballots, and we recommend that all 3 be counted as valid, totaling 128. St. Thomas More Church had 259 EXT votes and 2 paper, totaling 261. There were 4 provisionals. We recommend 3 be counted as valid and 1 is partial, totaling 265. Trinity Presbyterian had 73 EXT votes and 0 paper ballots voted, totaling 73. There were 6 provisionals. We recommend that 5 be counted as valid, 0 is partial, and 1 is not valid because they were not registered, totaling 79 total ballots cast. Unger Building Complex had 94 EXT votes, 0 paper, totaling 94. There were 6 provisionals. We recommend 5 be counted as valid, 0 is partial, and 1 is not valid because they voted the wrong party, totaling 100 ballots cast. Unitarian had 63 EXT votes, 0 paper, totaling 63. There were 7 provisional ballots. We recommend 5 be counted as valid, 0 is partial, and 2 is not valid because 1 was not registered and 1 was the wrong party, totaling 70 ballots cast. Vineyard Community Center had 203 EXT votes, 1 paper, totaling 204. There were 7 provisionals. Out of 7, we recommend 6 be counted as valid, 0 is partial, and 1 is not valid because they were not registered, totaling 211. Zendale Community Church had 57 EXT votes, 1 paper, totaling 58. There were 0 provisional ballots cast, so their total was 58. So overall, for Riley County, EXT votes, we had 4,674, 5,940 paper ballots, totaling 10,614. There were a total of 215 provisional ballots. We recommend that 151 be counted as valid, 14 as partial, and 50 as not valid for the various reasons listed previously. In addition to that, we had 41 federal service ballots and 15 hand counts, so our total ballots cast were 10,885.
So, you know, gentlemen, the hand counts generally a ballot that won't scan for some reason. One thing I learned a lot this election due to the high volume of paper ballots by mail is many people fill them out when they're eating breakfast or something with many coffee stains or food attached to ballots, and the scanner just does not like that. So that's why those generally have to be hand counted. Any questions, gentlemen?
No,
Okay, if I can get a motion to certify the official canvas results of the Tuesday, August 4th, 2020 primary canvas election.
Make a motion that we approve the official 2020 primary election canvas.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It was really good, 10:45.
Good.
You want us to take this?
Okey dokey.
You won't know about this. Sorry about that.
Half an hour to go take a nap.
There you go.
Nothing seems, nothing's standing.
Nothing's going right this year.
Yeah.
Guys have a law board meeting downtown.
Yep.
Something tells me that could be a lively discussion today.
Because of the citation.
And various other things related.
From the public.
I would assume. You'd be surprised really how many people don't, and it's probably justifiable, don't really understand the breakdown of RCPD at this point in time with it being a consolidated entity. Who's responsible for what? And when it comes to something as simple as a citation. It is unique, let's just put it that way,
Nationally, should be RCPD.
just in general.
I mean, throughout the nation.
I think there's only like 4 or 5 that do some kind of consolidation, and this one is particularly different because you add the state statute into it, so.
Only one in the state, period. But other,
Yeah, I mean, they do something similar with a municipal range and a county range, but
I think Johnson County,
wind
because
up,
there's Wyandotte, they're still, so they're separate. but
Yeah.
The board is.
right. But they've got
City.
consolidated,
Oh, no.
government overall, so.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
gets
not
incorporated.
complete though.
No,
No, the other cities still have their separate
Some of them,
councils.
yeah. Mhm.
Bonner Springs, North Kansas City, Kansas, I think has its own. I'm not for sure
I
which
don't
ones it
remember
is, or
for
several.
sure, John, because they used to know more when that first happened.
I had the opportunity to talk to one of their people at the national convention last year. And he explained it to me, and well, with everything else that's happened since last July, I got kicked out apparently.
Well, the whole reason that even happened, though, you know, was really because the city wanted the bonding authority of the county, because they were dire straits.
And then that's what allowed them eventually to get Speedway area and Legends and
And that's when I was, on the Kansas Government Finance Officers Association board, so I knew all the finance and accounting people, you know, a couple of years after it happened. And so, you know, the big sales pitch was it saved all this money for Wyandotte County. So how much money did it save? They said, yeah, it hasn't saved any money. And the accounting finance people would know.
I've tried to explain to people if we undo this at this point in time, it could be done, but it would be very expensive for both the county and city of Manhattan to try to reincorporate.
Where you're consolidating two public entities that don't provide the same services.
Right.
That's what people just fail to realize is how different cities
county both. Okay, parks is one of them that you pick on, because, oh, we can consolidate. Takes the same number of people and completely different operations, completely different mowers, completely different equipment. So the additional cost would be borne by the county. There may have been a little savings to the city. IT, same way. They have different licenses for their programs than we do. Same thing there again. The county, it would cost the county residents a little more, and the city might save a little. So we looked into many of those situations of consolidation, and it doesn't work unless you've got two similar businesses or outfits that are going to join together to help.
My career here has been looked at probably a few times. There's even a report on it. You know, Bob Newsom was very good at the time, early on, late '90s, that was even talking about, you know, him being in government for so long, school board and everything, and that's what he said. Don't provide the same services. City don't have a taxation department. The city doesn't distribute monies. The city doesn't set a tax roll. The city doesn't conduct elections. So when you consolidate, and that's like Ron says, the big thing is always parks and public works.
Well, if you think about it, city park, county park, they be low at the same time. There's no decrease in employees. You know,
Just alternate the schedules the grass grows on.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't all.
I tell you what, if you find a way to be able to accomplish that, you're gonna be a very, very wealthy man.
We talk about that issue. You want to talk about getting the rural people riled up.
Okay.
Answer some emails.
not a good percent coming out to vote. Total vote was 10 somewhere.
Yeah.
There's at least 11,000.
Yeah, but
That
it's
doesn't,
still,
that doesn't include both parties here, and whatever. But, that's not a good showing. Hi.
Hey, we're gonna-
well, it's better than,
You can.
I'm early, probably, yeah. Okay, and then Gene Taylor and Casey's daughter.
Okay.
We can answer questions.
if you,
Yeah, I'm sure.
So this is Greg. He
Hi, Greg. All right, I would, I'll just say hi.
gave me a sound correction.
Oh, no.
He is the proposed at this time deputy general.
Pardon?
He's going to go into the general election on District 2.
Oh, okay. Oh, now I recognize the name. Okay. With the masks and everything, I'm not, yeah. Okay. Okay. Now I'm making the connections. Well, yeah, now you have your life back.
I could give it up, open, whatever. Generally, you don't get to about 6 months later to get driving. She had open heart surgery.
My sister had a lot of heart surgery, so I know what the recovery process is.
It's a long one for not, but people the last week, they were hit and drive away.
Oh, that's good.
That's, she behaved. I say she fired all of her home rehab.
Mhm.
They, when they first came, they said, now, we know you have to make it to the oh, I come over to the hospital.
Mhm. That's good.
So she's been going up and downstairs. They were worried about her with stairs, 2 steps sometimes.
Oh, that's good. Did they have to keep her, like, my sister always has so many medications.
She's
Is it
got,
your blood gets good? Is it blood
she's
gets-
got, she'll get off. And
Mhm.
she's got,
Yeah, my sister got like those, metal, I mean, it was I think she had one that was actually like, but
she
the
had,
mechanical ones beat really, they hard and it thins out the blood a lot. So,
well, she has one bovine
yeah.
valve and a big valve.
Mhm. No, those I don't think, you know, the blood is quite as bad as the mechanical ones. It just really thins out your blood and you're kind of back.
She's
Well, I'm glad she's doing good.
doing well. Up and downstairs, not taking care of her stuff. I don't like the way you do laundry. I'm gonna take it, go up and down the stairs, do all the things.
Taking it over, you know. Good for her.
It's good, it's really good. The way I used the gauge for the last few years, and then really when I took her to keep them to
Mhm.
the doctors. We didn't want me to go into the interstate.
Mhm.
We returned our granddaughter, who's there, her job was to pick it up for her. And we took her to Oakland.
Mhm.
4 hours there, 4 hours back. She is staying awake, sleeping well, what she does, quiet. What, yes, she's breathing,
Mhm. Yeah, I know that you checked that out. That's good.
so it's all good.
That's what people, it's amazing what people say after they, you know,
Yeah.
be able to get that blood flow going better, how much
Yeah.
difference it makes in their lives. So.
This one, well, pleased, he's doing it, it'll take 40 days out of my election. Not, that's not the fault of the deal.
Oh, you need to be there, yeah, that's what.
Question, would you actually wash this thing, do these, all these things, and do things?
You put them all in one load,
Yeah,
colors and the darks.
well,
and
she told me
lights.
how
But she had them separated, you know.
She explained to me the process.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughter also came,
Oh, that's good.
after she, all the things taken care of. And I bought a bunch of styrofoam plates, books, stuff. I was gonna have a reunion with the family, but then it got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
And that was in July,
Mhm.
and we started with this process. And actually, it ended up that our operation was the Thursday before the reunion, deal got canceled.
Yeah.
And so I had all this stuff for the reunion.
Yep, don't have to do dishes then, just throw it out.
There's always something, but
Yeah. Well, with her in that surgery, she's gonna wanna be really careful. And in her house.
yeah, so it worked out okay.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, just remember, when in doubt, use cold water when washing.
Well, she had a new washer.
Oh,
So
good.
I bought her a new washer several months back. Got it going, it does good, everything's fine. No more problems.
That's good. Who's your daughter live?
She lives,
Oh, okay.
she works for that stuff.
Mhm.
But she has days off. She was working from home anyway.
Mhm.
She came for a
Yeah.
little bit, bossed me around while with my granddaughter bossing, and the dog was bossing me around.
Bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah. So it was whatever. And then right after, daughter left, I had 3 grandkids show up, all of them grown. One was finishing her last year in nursing school. The other 2 were married. One is in University of Indiana, working on his doctorate. The other was already graduated, did all sorts of stuff. And she worked for a big education firm. And so
Mhm.
I think y'all came to see me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what happens.
Morning.
Things like that happen.
How are you this morning?
Good, how are you,
Hey,
sir?
how are you?
Yeah,
Good to see
You
you.
guys can pick
My
whatever chair you
instinct is
want.
always to, but I'm not.
Oh, I know, I
Then shake
like
me
that.
down, you know.
Want to shake hands, but I don't know who wants to shake hands.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
Me neither, personally.
We got sanitizer and stuff, but
Yeah, I'm Gene, by the way.
We've met
Yeah,
before.
we have, yeah.
Yeah.
that's it.
at
I see it.
K-meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice to
That's
see you,
exactly
sir.
what it is. I didn't recognize you.
Same day they were closing down and everything in the
Yeah.
Big 12 tournament, so.
Nice to meet you.
We need these chairs back here.
If you're first in here, then nobody else can come in.
Yeah, that's right. Get a chair. Get a
That's
chair.
Anyway, that's.
Okay.
Oh, like they were Friday night. So,
All right. That's good. Okay.
oh, yeah. It was everywhere. From the national news this morning, they were showing every university.
And
Well, remember when we were kids? I would not want to be in college.
So,
Chris, you're close. It's all these, and apparently they should.
Oh, really?
She's with you. Because you're sure, you
That's the one that had the 22. I see that.
Yeah, it's-
that,
There was one student that they interviewed.
and I didn't have,
It was on campus. And you just, hey, I don't know your face. And I said, I don't know this. Say this was my legal stuff. And whether or not she was one of those down in Aggieville. And the e-scooters are out now. So.
Yeah, we saw some.
Those are pretty sleek looking. They were different than I was kind of anticipated, a little bit of metal and a couple of wheels, and that's pretty cool.
These have the larger tires.
Yeah.
So they're safe. They don't need a, like a crack in the road or something.
Hope they come with some kind of instructions.
Yeah. It's all kids, you know, it's all
Yeah.
on the app.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And they've got some people on campus and around town
Okay.
showing people how. to
That's a
ride.
good partnership.
You
Yeah.
know, it was interesting to see some kids I was driving around and walking around campus on Sunday, and some of them were just trying them for the first time, and they're like, because you have to balance yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to remember, when I was riding it the first time, because there's the brake that stops it, and I was starting to put my foot down, like, and you don't do that, because the scooter, unless the brake is stopped.
Oh, yeah, then the scooter takes off and
Keeps
you kind of
going.
don't. Yeah, I could see that. Julie indicated she was gonna be on Zoom or in person.
That I do
Good morning, Clancy and John. This is Dave Adams. I'm just making sure you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just going to stay here and zoom in. I believe Julie is on her way to the BOCC.
Pat said that he may be in attendance too. I don't remember. Okay.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Real good, thanks.
Normally for me this time of the year, I feel the traffic come in, some things change. This year, well, that was a drastic, noticeable change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since students haven't been
We've
around.
been here
since
since March. I'm like, man, it's really getting busy around here. Then I went back through the timeline and was like, yeah, it makes sense. Totally
Yeah.
makes sense.
Grocery stores were really busy over the weekends.
Yep, yep.
Target, Walmart, they were all.
It's also the time of year where you see weird things like just beds and couches and various odd locations. It's all right. I'm used to it. It's not a big deal. I just get a chuckle out of it every time.
Some of the really old things out on the curbside.
Yeah. I seen one at the beginning of the month. There was actually the bed set up in a parking spot on the side of the street. Wasn't like just stacked there ready to go or coming out. Like they chose to sleep there waiting to get in the apartment the night before or something. I don't know. I was trying to figure that one out.
There's a lot of rain last night.
Yeah, we got a lot of.
There's quite a few little small twig branches and leaves and stuff floating around. So I must have had some wind behind it too. I didn't.
Knock on wood, we've been, as far as really bad weather,
Mm-hmm.
not too bad this.
Yeah, not like what happened up in Iowa and the north up there last week with that DeRocha.
We've never heard of that.
That's just basically a real strong squall line that just stays intact and up around low pressure like an inland hurricane, and it just moves over a large swath area. So it did some real damage though, especially in Iowa.
Seems to get hit more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
In California's having, it's what they call it.
The wildfires, yeah. It kind of stretched over into Utah and western Colorado too.
Good thing we live here in Riley County.
I do say that a lot, actually. I really do.
you doing? Linda, how you doing back
Fine,
there?
how are you?
Hiding in the back, huh? You're usually up
We got
front.
the two important people up front.
Yeah, all right. This would be the other way around. Or just where you can watch it. That way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Keep an eye on it.
But one thing I am gonna say I'm glad for, I'm glad I'm not the one that has to decide who and how many tickets go out this year and what that process is gonna be, so.
It'll be interesting.
I don't envy you gentlemen for that.
Sir, what's your name?
Casey Scott.
Casey, thank you. You're gonna have to get Linda a K-State face mask. That's the only one. Yeah.
Oh, you know, I have one, but
Yeah.
it didn't match the floral print.
Yeah.
We have reached that point where we're color coordinating now, aren't we? Yep, okay.
Yeah, that's right. 50 Shades of Purple. But I do have, so they're ready to go.
We tweeted that out, you leave your house, cell phones, keys, sunglasses, out facing. Yeah.
I kind of like what they're doing with the superstore there, where you pick a color and a
Yeah.
different color power cat and they stick it right on there and you're out the door with it. So,
I may have to go with some more options. My daughter had a lavender one the other day. I'm like, okay.
I'm gonna try to find some of the old school cloths with the old school Willie on it when I first moved here.
I've
Try to
got
get-
one. I've
yeah,
got one of those.
I need
The
that.
old school Willie.
Yeah,
It's actually a great, problem I had with the doctor's office for my physical. I had one of these, put it on as I'm walking in, it breaks. And you can't see the break. And he has these to hand out to replace it, but he also had a box of nice custom made ones, and that's what he handed me, was one with the old Willie Wildcat. I
oh,
was like,
lucky
"Score."
you.
I was like, that was a good score. Maybe it was because he saw I tried to comply, but it broke, so I don't know. That was a good deal.
You got the special one then.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
I showed my wife, she was jealous, so.
That makes two of us.
We're both K-State grads, so that's awesome. Yeah, I saw one today where it looked like a regular face, you know. They've got, you know, we're getting pretty creative. That's what I'm curious to see how creative they'll get with Halloween. Yeah.
There's like the mask and the, this is what I look like buttons, I guess they got going now, so.
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they take a picture of your face, put that on a button, and when you're wearing your mask, everybody can see what you looks like, they don't know you, I guess.
They get one that says I'm smiling. Well, actually, they have some you can take a picture of your smile.
Yeah,
they'll
and then
print
put it on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But
Need to get one of those when we do pictures in here,
There you
because I
go.
always have to say, I'm smiling.
Yeah.
yeah.
Julie's supposed to be here?
Yeah, she's back behind us.
She's back there. Okay.
And David Adams is on Zoom, and I thought Pat Collins said he may or may not be,
Yeah.
but he's out testing, so probably not.
Yeah, I think that's the radio system.
Getting ready. Okay, Julie, your turn.
Ready? All right, good morning.
Morning.
Again, good to hear from you again this morning.
Mhm.
So before you is the draft of order number 18. We've made very minor changes to this order. It looks almost identical to order 17. We just wanted to clarify a few things in it. Hopefully this will be the last time that we have to revisit this for a while until it needs to be rescinded or amended. So you'll notice in section 2, under A2, we did change mass gatherings to events. So any events greater than 50 are required to have an event request form. Under section 2 in B1, we did change, well, this will be changed, that all restaurants and bars, we will change that to all employers will be required to, or I'm sorry, recommended to screen all employees at the start of every shift. Most businesses are already doing this or should be doing this if they're following the best practices laid out by CDC as previous orders and this one have referred to. In that best practices, screening of all employees is recommended at the start of every shift. So we'll change that. Also in section 2B4, we did change this while standing. How it was written, it was implied that all bars and counters were closed completely. We do want to make that revision so that they can still have bars or counters as long as individuals are seated. So individuals or parties are seated and they're 6 feet from others. So we're making that change. So those are all of the changes that we're making for, for order number 18. One other item in the order that I want to draw your attention to is the fact that A3 under section 2 here says large venues of more than 2,000 person capacity shall remain closed. And we've looked at this and discussed this a lot over the last few weeks. I feel as the local health officer, that strictly from a public health standpoint, given the times we're in and the unique population that we have here in Riley County, that opening up venues of more than 2,000 would not be a good idea at this time. I know that we have had many discussions with KSU Athletics, many good discussions, and we have more discussions with local schools as they try to get fall sports started and want to bring spectators in for fall sports. You've all seen K-State's plan to bring in spectators for football this season. I think it's a great plan. I think if implemented well, they've provided safeguards and modifications in place to make things happen, to keep everyone safe. I just still worry about the huge number of people that we'll be bringing in to our area from all over. This puts us at risk regardless of safeguards put in place at the stadium. I also worry about outbreaks occurring, and if they do, how that would change our percent positive in the county. Right now, we're doing well with our percent positive. We're on the downward trend. I think last week it was at 3.5%. So I really want to keep it that way. I worry about outbreaks, occurring even from that or from anything that's been happening. We've all seen the activity that's been happening as of this last weekend. I know the schools are using our county percent positives as their criteria as to whether to go to keep in session, hybrid, or to go all remote. If we get to that 10%, students will have to go all remote. And I know, speaking as a parent, and talking to other parents and educators and children, I know they don't want to be there. They don't want to go remote. So I just worry about what this would do to the whole community, especially looking at our schools. We want our students to stay in school. With all that being said, I want you to know that if you decide to lift A3 under mass gatherings in the order, the EOC has agreed to review all plans of 250, events of 250, to make sure that modifications are in place to make that event happen safely. Any questions?
John, any questions?
Well, I don't know I have quite a few, but who wants to answer them? Well, one is, will masks be worn before and after entering the stadium?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll be required the entire.
During the game. One concern, because I'm sure yelling and cheering droplets are going to travel further than just conversation. But how many employees will be involved in the operation?
Well, normally, when we plan for a 50,000 stadium, we're right now planning for about 75% of our capacity, staffing capacity that we would normally have. So there's going to be plenty of security and ushers and police like we normally would, because we still need that much just to manage the size of it, so the numbers.
Will the employees be screened?
Yes, they will.
Okay. And how many fans approximately are you shooting for?
Well, I think we've asked for 25% of capacity, which is around 12,500. A lot of those would be in the premium areas. Some of those would be in the premium areas.
suites. So those are people that are kind of families pretty much.
Of course, no tailgate or anything, so how far in advance of the game will you open the gates, and how many entry points will there be?
We plan to open the parking lots. Typically, it's always been 5 hours before kickoff. This year, we're gonna reduce it to 2 hours, which is when the stadium gates would open. So our plan would be to have you park and enter the stadium as soon as you get in. Part of our reasoning for having the 2 hours out is still the construction out on Kimball and College is gonna cause some traffic slowdowns, we think, so we need some time there. And gates, our plan is still to have all gates available for entry to help spread people out around the stadium. We are reducing the number of entry points within the gate so that we have the proper social distancing between actual metal detectors to enter each gate.
Because, with masks and stuff, and social distancing, I didn't know how that was gonna work, because, of course, I'd only figured 15,000, but, that's 6 feet, that's 17 miles of people. And it's gonna take quite a bit of time to get, depending on how many entrances, so that's what, one concern was too, if they're taking all that into consideration, so. Most important point to me, though, is, as a county commissioner, I was, frankly, I was offended by the university somewhat demanding that I mandate masks in rural Raleigh County, or at the threat of not allowing the students to return at one point. That's the way I perceived it. And my point is, we were talking 22,000 people in the rural county spread over hundreds of square miles, and now we're looking at 12,000 to 15,000 people in less than a square mile. So somewhat didn't think that you could have it both ways. And of course, there wasn't any further pressure on the mandating masks in the county or anything, but just the fact that that occurred, I felt that was wrong, that county commissioners should operate the county and the university should operate the university. So, but right now, I'm given a 14-day span, which is going to be about the 29th of August or somewhere. Right now, I'm not in favor of increasing this over 2,000 right now, today. And that's not to say in a week or two, conditions keep going down, but I was talking to some East Street people, and even with this going on right now with our orders, and then Mayor Reddy, it's not working in Aggieville as far as controlling the people. And I don't want an outbreak. Like I said, these students are all not common to this area, or not students, but the people that will be attending the game. I'm not comfortable going over 2,000 right now.
Commissioner, let me just answer a couple of those concerns. One, majority of our ticket holders, many of them are from Riley County. Even in this group of 12,000, many of them are going to be, and the rest of them are going to be from the state of Kansas. They're not really coming from hot spots around the country. So I couldn't give you a percentage off the top of my head, but the majority of our season ticket holders are people that are probably going to be coming to the game, even from Riley County or certainly counties within close proximity. Obviously, I get the concern, but the one thing that, probably most places aren't doing is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars into security and ushers and police and medical personnel to make sure that whatever plan they put in place will be able to manage that. And if anybody else wants to spend those kinds of dollars to manage the safety of their fans, I think they certainly could. But, we're going to invest a significant amount of dollars in revenue into the safety aspect and, monitoring that. And if somebody's not following our rules, just like any football game we have, we certainly could escort them out and ask them not to come back. So we have systems in place to manage that, that we do for any weekend game, whether there's 12,000 or 50.
Well, I feel a lot like Ron in what was happening, but I also look at what we need to get back to the economics building Manhattan and not letting some of these businesses go out of existence, because we're having a lot of people lose their fortunes, lose their different things on it, and so I'm kind of stuck between it on what it is. I, like Ron, was offended by the letter we got, or whatever it was, that we got notified that we had to do the mandate. When you have out there in most of the rural areas, they're working out there with their cattle and stuff by themselves. They don't need a mask. Okay. And so I want to hear more. I want to see how can we get this thing going. I know you want to get the game going. School's losing money. We're losing money. The residents are losing money. And to get there, and the economy of any city is retail, and it needs to happen. And so I'm just gonna see if anybody else has a comment, and we'll go from there.
From my perspective, the difficulty here is I don't believe this is an exception type of situation. And I've discussed this with Julie and the EOC, and I had this conversation with you too, Linda. I can't make one exception for one group and not an exception for another, and so on and so forth. So this is one of those scenarios that either we do it for everybody and work through that process, or we do it for nobody and not work through that process. And I guess that's kind of where I'm at as far as that part's concerned. I guess my question would be, you know, what, I guess the nice thing here is, one, we don't have our first game till September 12th. And if I read the schedule right, we've got a 3-week gap between another home game. Of course, we'll play on the road. There's some things there, particularly being at Oklahoma and the situation down there at this particular point in time. But it does give us some proper time within our structures to look at and reevaluate what could happen, or what the other 4 home games may, or in that process may not look like necessarily. So that's somewhat convenient in this particular situation. I guess my question would be, what contingencies, I guess, for lack of a better term, a worst case scenario plays out of that would there be at that point in time?
Well, we're kind of running up against the notification
Right.
and process issue, whether it's, you know, if it's less than 2,000 fans, then 2,000 or less, we're probably looking at basically our premium seat holders. They do have contracts for those suites, so we would have to allow them to come in, just because they have actual contracts that we would be liable for that they couldn't have. And then if you do were to come back and say you could get 25%, probably the way our plan is set to give every season ticket holder an option for a game, we would have to notify them by the 26th. After that, then it's basically just going to take per game orders and a priority basis of our season ticket holders, which means right now our plan is that every season ticket holder would potentially have the option to come to a game.
Okay.
You know, within that number. If we wait until any time before or after the 26th, then it's just first come, first served, and only about 45% of our ticket holders can have the option to come. Okay. So that's why, you know, obviously the timing, you can't force that, but that's just the reality of how we would do the process. Okay. We would need to know a pretty clear number by the 26th of August as to what direction we're heading, so we can put our process in place for notification.
From here, let me look at the canvas. We got about a week. Do you see anything with numbers and everything that's going on that could change between now and the middle of next week?
I think you just never know. With activity that's been going on, like I said, this last weekend, yeah, we'll look for that uptick in the next week or so.
I feel like in this case that this is going to be a lot more controlled and safer than some of the other things that we've seen here, particularly over the weekend at this point in time, considering that you'll have staff and you've got a focused and controlled plan, but you know, there's still maybe some other variables there. I'm not 100% comfortable at this point in time too, considering think a priority for us, at least here locally, is that we've got to get our schools opened up. We got to get the school districts opened up. We got to know that the university itself is operational and functional. Not that I don't think those things can happen at this point in time, but at some point in time, what thresholds are there to cross? And I guess that's just kind of where I'm sitting at right now. I'm okay with K-State's plan, to be honest with you. I think it's detailed enough, and I think in talking with command staff, they've reiterated that they think it's good, and they think it's a good approach, and that we can work that. But like as I said, if I allow this for K-State, I have to allow it for everybody. I can't pick and choose favorites based off of whatever criteria. So I got the indication, Julie, that if we take this cap off, that there's going to be a rigorous process for everybody involved.
It'll basically be, so right now, there's a subcommittee looking at all events between about 50 and 250. Anything that would be larger than that, then the EOC would take a look at those and run them through the criteria, ask questions if they need to for those camps.
So anything, if we took the 2,000 capacity off, but still, each case is going to have to go be addressed by you. And as far as safety and whatever's involved, I just one of the toughest things, nobody can ever forecast a pandemic or anything, because I've got families already purchased their tickets, and it's just tough. But then the activity's been going on in Aggieville is disconcerting. I guess KSU police too would be present to enforce.
And we'd have KSU police, Raleigh County police, and our normal.
Yeah.
And we have members of our staff there, obviously, too, as David indicated this morning in the conversation.
Having owned and operated two businesses and stuff, here's not necessarily this had anything to do with this one, but here's $150,000 worth of property tax we're out, had to give back, and so we need to protect the business too. But I'm thinking, Julie, if we took the top capacity off, still had strict control, over each individual case, whatever size of the venue, maybe we could approach that angle. I mean, if we do the September 12th game, we want to monitor for the next 14 days very closely, and maybe have, the EMS will be there and give us a report on what their feelings are as far as how well it's been operated, number one. And there again, I don't want to expose our EMS unnecessarily. If they have to treat people, or if they have to be a hot day, or if they have to treat people, I don't want them exposed unnecessarily either.
And that was one of the things that came up in that phone conversation with DOC is most of the members of there will be on site. So they can also do the regular duties, but they can also look at it from, the particular, health standpoint in which we kind of are sitting at this point in time. So.
Yeah, I have the other concern that they're not going, you'll have a lot of people not going to the game. They'll be congregating in a rental house, not a frat house of any kind of sorority. And they will probably not have masks on, and they won't distance. And there's no way to control that in a spontaneous so-called deal that we're all going to come watch TV there and see the game. You could have you could have outbreaks on that when you have no control.
We have no control.
Yeah.
I would say that's probably gonna happen whether we have
Right.
25%.
Right. That will, but what it does, it affects her numbers.
Sure, absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I'm concerned that something without, you control it, you have no problems. But this other, with the numbers increased, then they're not counting where it happens at, or who did it. They're just saying the numbers went up. And then it would end up that we'd end up here saying, oh, you can't do it no more. And so I don't know how to control that, within Riley County.
It's a very unique set of circumstances that we're all faced with. And I say all includes everybody in the community at this particular point in time, regardless if we agree on certain things or certain protocols or whatnot. But this one's tough.
It is a hard deal, and,
It wouldn't be, I mean, I've looked at it from the perspective of the weekend too, that this will probably be, in my opinion, probably the largest of all events that will occur probably over the fall. I think most people are pretty intent on keeping their events small or going to this Zoom, this Zoom option that I know we all love at this point in time. So I really don't think that most of the things that happen in the fall are going to happen anyway. So that's one thing to look at. This is going to be the largest of that, and it's going to probably be the most controlled out of those scenarios. But like I said, I can't make one exception here and say it's okay for this, but not okay for anything else. And like I said, we have to either allow that cap to come off completely to do this or not. And everybody's got to be treated the same along the way here. And that's the toughest component of all for me at this point.
Yeah,
It really
agree.
is.
Do you make, prove 18 as written and make this an exception? So what-
You're playing favorites. You're basically saying everybody else, not that I think anybody else is planning a large 12,000 plus event at this point in time, and not that I think anybody probably will, but
They may want 3 or 4.
yeah.
You know, it's,
I try to think of all the things, and to be honest with you, a lot of those are events are kind of planned around football, homecoming, some of those other things. I know we have Veterans Day, and that's going to be a whole separate thing, but really outside of that, the large amount of stuff is kind of planned around football in the university, and for the most part, I don't think that's going to really probably happen under most circumstances this year anyway. So,
Hey, Commissioners,
yes, David.
hey, this is David Adams. I just wanted to point out that when you're talking about the 2,000 person capacity, we also have to think about the high school football.
Yes.
So Manhattan High, Riley County High, and then probably to a lesser extent, but I'm not real sure, Blue Valley Randolph. So
And I know that you have other fall sports too, including soccer and volleyball. And I think all those fall underneath that capacity typically. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, usually, but we
The other
put in
one-
the same protocols, what we can do for football for our fall games.
And what's the other one? Cross country?
Yeah, we don't do that fans with that.
Okay. And if you're not socially distanced properly in cross country, you're probably not really doing it right anyway. So fair enough.
Maybe at the start.
Yeah.
Do you have something, Clancy?
Yes, Commissioner Clancy Holman, Riley County Council, just responding to Commissioner Wells' comment about just making an exception. Really, I would encourage you just, what's before you is the form of Order 18, and any exceptions would be within that approval process. So it still addresses that. I would discourage any separate order, because then you're just going to confuse.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents.
Do we still want to discuss this anymore, or do you
I-
want to give a motion?
I'd wait to see what the motion is, right? I say it's a super tough decision.
Now, I guess this is hypothetical, but let's say first game, we keep a 2,000 limit. We see that some of our numbers are moving correctly still. We kind of got the schools opened up. We're seeing the university opened up. We're seeing some things moving in that right direction. I mean, can we, I guess it's probably a better question for you, Gene, probably. I mean, can you move to some sort of larger capacity at that point in time for the last 4 games as we get an opportunity just to kind of see what it's going to look like?
Being a former ticket guy, I would imagine that it's gonna be a challenge, but we could figure anything out. Like you said, we would have some time, to come up with how to notify those ticket holders. It would be more of a game by game
Yeah.
type of deal, like opposed, right now, we're trying to do it for an option, you can have a 2-game package or a 3-game package based on priority. If the first game wasn't at that 25% capacity, then we'd probably have to go a single game for every game. And if it was 25 or 30%, it would just
days, we'd start our top priority, work our way down to
Okay.
that number.
Okay.
For us.
So you can function around that if you had to. I think for me, I'm more concerned really with this first game with everything happening at the same time. And I feel like if we can get through.
And Casey just, sorry, I mean,
For us, if we started it either way, if it was low and went high or high and went low, our staffing would become somewhat of an issue. Just because we hire people to work the entire season.
Yeah.
And we may lose the ability to ramp it up, you know, at a 2,000 number, we would have to greatly reduce our workforce, and then to ramp it up to 20, it might be difficult in those next couple of weeks to get the amount of people back. So I'd be a little concerned about that.
John, if we went with modify to remove the 2,000 and things go haywire the first game, we can always
Clamp down.
restrict it to whatever,
Yeah.
I realize we don't want just, it'd be nice just to have an order that's they're gonna be there for a while, so they have to change this all the time. So I think that's what we're trying to achieve. But,
Yeah. Well, for me, in this perspective, it's not so much what K-State's going to do here, it's what potentially could be done outside of that and how that maybe change the dynamics to some certain extent. I'm not really, I mean, I feel pretty comfortable that we're going to be able to work through this for K-State. But what about everybody else? And like I said, I can't make a single exception here and then not for everybody else. It's just not going to work. So, like I said, either we do this for everybody or we don't do it for everybody. But in this particular case, because we have some time up until that first game and 3 weeks after that game to the second game, we have some time to see what our numbers are going to be like. And I feel like by about that time, we should have a pretty good indication of where we're at, for better or for worse. Obviously.
Can we put that with an order to say they do it? And if the conditions are not met and we have a spike, we can say you can't do this anymore like that. Would that, yes, sir.
Well, I guess this question's for Julie and David, with you guys working on the EOC. I mean, I think it would give the commissioners and the public, better comfort level knowing the detail of what K-State's going through and what would you would expect at a higher level than just at 2,000. I mean, Gene had said, they're spending hundreds of thousands. So if you make that a requirement, to me, it's a much different picture than me if I'm an event organizer and I got some part-time staff, but as opposed to an organization that has a professional level that's instilled in this process, I think. And David, I know you guys have talked about this as the EOC, so at what comfort level are you with what K-State's recommending? I know everyone is antsy about the 12,500 figure, but I don't think most local events that you've seen are putting the resources into it financially and personnel-wise, and that's where I think the difference is. I'm not saying that still makes it good, but if there's enough detail that's known, maybe it's more understandable why something like that might be allowed. But then not just an exception, everyone that's over that 2,000 is going to be held to that same standard.
Yeah, and like I said before, I think the plan itself is great. And for me, it was just the amount of people that were coming in. When we reviewed the plan, it's great. And if it were, in a perfect world, if it were implemented correctly and everything were to go correctly, but it's going to be up to those individuals, of course, to make sure that they're always wearing their mask and doing everything correctly. My worry is that if we do see an outbreak from this, then yeah, we could say no more games, but at that point, it's almost too late. I kind of like the idea of maybe keeping something in place for now, and then maybe the second game, looking at what our situation is like with the kids going back to school, K-State students going back today. But yeah, no, the plan itself is great. If everyone had a plan like that, it would work out great.
So could we take, and if they have a spike, that if that's the condition for the next game, if we don't have a spike, then it goes on that way. If we have a spike in the county, now you got to understand that with that many people, you could have 3 or 4 more people get sick. But if you got 25, it just shoots up, that we need to do something different. Is there something we can do with that, Clancy? in there?
You don't need special language. to do
Okay,
it.
all right,
None of these orders are guaranteed at any place.
okay.
I mean, it's all guided by what the local health officer and the board of health decide.
Okay.
I don't think you need anything particular. I would agree with Rich that it would be helpful to have that plan out publicly.
Right.
Because if the board decides to do something, at least have a record of what has been considered and what went into the decision process. Which is going to be beyond what most venues even approaching the size of 2,000. They're just not going to have those kind of resources. I would encourage you, I'd not, don't forget what Julie said about one of the cascades of the decision here potentially is what the schools do. Because if they're looking at if they're looking at the infection, so you've got more than simply, okay, now we just close them off. It kind of goes to what Julie was saying about too late. Not lobbying for a particular result, it's telling us, as in all things in 2020.
Well, to me, that's,
Everything.
to me, that's been the most important priority right now is that we get our schools opened up. And as well as the university, I do include that in that process too. I think those are the most important critical parts. All else fails, you guys still be able to play football, so there's at least revenue coming in from television, which is a large portion of what you bring in. So it's not convenient, but it's not a complete loss either. So I do understand that. I do like the fact that how it's scheduled would give us some time to see how that first game goes as well as everything else goes in that process. And I do understand that would be very difficult to reincorporate and try to refocus staff, I suppose, but that's been kind of how this whole thing's been during 2020. We've had to think outside the box and be creative with some things. And I think if we had to go that route, I think you guys would be able to work around it, I would think, to some extent.
If I may, my question would be, in regards to the 2,000 capacity, how many other events outside of K-State athletics? So you mentioned the high school football, and would they be, asked Julie, like, we took our capacity and reduced it by 3/4, and that's in order to do the social distancing and put in I would presume the high schools would have to have a similar sort of plan, which I don't know what Bishop Stadium sees, for instance, but I presume that would potentially reduce that be under the 2,000.
And I don't
So
think,
we would probably be the only sporting event or the only event that I can think of that would be potentially affected by this order if it stayed at 2,000.
That makes it extremely difficult, because like I say, I think the 2,050 to 2,000 is still the correct procedure, but we have a professional venue. So how would you categorize, and like I said, there's only really one in the area, but to protect them also that has a plan and has the ability to carry out the plan. So that's a real dilemma for me because I don't want to open this up to everybody, but then I hadn't taken into consideration like the high school, just doing 8% also because of space. So I agree. I think that would cover both area schools that not going to be able to exceed the 2,000 capacity for what their capacity is when it's limited to.
they're going to have to
25% or
socially
whatever.
distance anyway. correct?
We need to figure out a way to get
Yeah.
from the 2,000 to a professional entity somehow.
I can't think of a venue around that's gonna.
Nope, there's none.
Because that would eliminate social distancing at halftime.
Yeah.
And that may still get eliminated anyway, as they're still having ongoing discussions through the KSHAA, that big long term. I've never been able to. Yeah, the state schools sports association too. So it's not a guarantee that there is going to be football. And I don't think any of the other high school sports in the area outside of football, much like K-State's going to come anywhere close to that. So to me, that it just becomes down to what somebody outside have said, and would plan. And I guess that's a whole other ballgame at this point in time, no pun intended.
So we want to do then make a motion to accept or not?
Except,
Their plan to allow them to go above the 2,000.
so to do that, are we gonna modify the order and remove the capacity limits entirely? Are we making an exception?
Looking for the Clancy, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I would like to leave order 18 as it is with one exception. And I don't know if you can do that.
I don't feel comfortable doing that. As I said, I think we either have to remove it and give everybody that opportunity, or not remove it and keep everybody there. I think we need to be fair with that.
And if we remove it, it's still, Julie has to say anything over 50, so.
I would feel more comfortable at this point in time than modifying it and then removing it and giving everybody that fair opportunity, given the discussion that we had. I don't see anything throughout the fall being any larger than football at this point in time. I just really don't. I don't think people want to take, I don't think people are going to take the responsibility and the, what's the term, the liability for anything that may or may not happen. And I think that's going to reduce it. I also think for K-State football this year, mask will be a big deal to some people. Some people may not come because of that. Construction, it's always a big deal, but it's particularly a big deal this year. And maybe that's the silver lining in all this too. It allows us some leniency to get all that done and in. And the last one is no tailgating. For a lot of people, they come up here to make that time of it. And that's,
Commissioner Ford, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised, as much as I would like to get to that 25% capacity.
I don't think they're gonna get there.
Once we put this out to our ticket holders, I'll be shocked. I mean, I love it. And
Yeah.
to have that flexibility would be awesome, but I think a lot of those things that you just mentioned will make people rethink whether they want to purchase.
And I have,
Because of the options we're gonna give them.
yeah, and that was gonna be
from the
my,
ticket side of things.
and that was gonna be my next one there was, that I know a lot of people are already opting to 2021. Maybe some of those play into case. And there's a lot of people that just may not feel comfortable being that large of an environment themselves at this point in time. And then they'll make their responsible and appropriate decision based on all those said protocols and variables. So,
It's like the ticket holder I talked to Saturday, keeping their two
Yeah.
reserve and their comment was, but not an opportunity to game. So that's right. That doesn't mean it. They may not reach the 25%.
yeah, I'm with Gene on that. I see it being somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 6 to 8. That's kind of my ballpark figure.
That was a little more now.
Okay. We can place a bet. We can get together and divvy up later on that if you'd like.
Well, it's really at least more than the number of people they have working for them.
Yeah. I don't see this being as profitable given the extra staff and the extra requirements that you're going to have. So it greatly reduces it too. So, and there's no telling what else may happen at the national level. Something could happen at any given time where conference decides, much like the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and the MAC, and there's one other one in there. They may decide to cancel due to other reasons too. So it's still going to be fluid regardless of what we decide here this morning, this afternoon.
Still looking for what you want to do.
Let me give you one more thing to think about, but it's easy. It's a small change to the definition. It doesn't affect capacity, it doesn't affect 2,000. That's just the language. And this goes to the section 1 definitions. We've got some proposed changes here in the second sentence. And I've suggested tightening this up a little bit. To say, for the purposes of this order 18, the phrases and terms public gathering, mass gathering, or event are defined as any plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The reason that's important is if you go down to section 2 and you don't include event in the definition, in 2A2 talks only about events, not mass gatherings. So this is incredibly OCD. But it matters in case there's any need for criminal enforcement. This doesn't relate to KSA. This order affects everybody. So what has to happen if there's a criminal enforcement attempt? There hasn't been yet, hasn't been need to be. But in the unlikely event that happens, we don't want to build in a defense. And one of the easiest defenses for raising a criminal case is it's vague. What you're trying to enforce is too ambiguous, and nowhere do you define event. And so how was I to know that my gathering of 680 people, how could I know that was an event? Well, we want to go back to the order and say, up here, where I just showed you, that it is defined. Mass gathering is the same thing as, it's just for clarity's sake. It's important you know, if you make a motion, if you proceed on a motion to accept the order as presented, this was not in what you saw today. It did not occur to me, quite frankly, until after you've gotten that. But it's different language, but it's for that reason. So, again, it doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about today, other than just the general enforceability of the order. But I don't want you to ever see something and think that it's been tweaked beyond what you last saw. Now I've bored you to tears. You can remember where you were.
I just forgot things. A lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty.
A lot of uncertainty. I do feel a little bit more comfortable with the idea that we're going to watch this and watch it very, very closely. And obviously make any new determinations that we need to make as we go along. And I get the indication that the university will be on board with that 100% along the way. You've got a lot at stake on both sides of that. So I get that, I kind of run from the hills or anything if we just say we just can't do this. That's another thought that I have.
Yeah.
So, I just want to make sure that you're comfortable to make a motion to release that cap at this point in time, that we're going to all be okay with that, given the circumstances. Okay. At this time, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept local order number 18 with the modification of taking off the 2,000 person person capacity for events moving forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very
And I
much.
have full trust and faith, Julie.
Thank you.
You'll work.
We will be diligent in our efforts.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
And just let me be the first to say good luck.
Now, when the ticket holders start emailing me, I'm just gonna send
Yeah. You might want to take a ticket and stand in line or get real early on that one.
Okay. Any other business to be brought before the commission? That you know of?
No,
None?
not that I can think of.
No, sorry, I do not know.
Okay. Ron, do you have anything else?
No, I haven't found anything yet.
Okay. Because I've got to get to the
Yeah.
law board meeting.
I'm gonna go and make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're very welcome, sir. Okay.